Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very interesting Astro Decode. I'm very excited to share this information with you. So this one is going to be on the eclipse season of the month of October. So we're going to have two eclipses, and we're going to go over them with you. So thank you for being here. I'm Julie from Maison Jupiter, and I'm here with my co-host, Meg Moonbeam from Maison Jupiter as well. Hi, Meg. Welcome to the show.
Hello, I'm very excited for this one. I know you are too. So it's going to be a really fun show today.
Yeah, and let us know also in the chat if you have questions regarding the eclipses, if you have comments. We're very excited to have you here with us. And hi, Jenny. She says, hi, everyone. Love Astro Decode Show. Thank you so much. And also, don't forget to give us a like if you do enjoy this type of content. It really helps us with the algorithms of YouTube. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us grow. Okay, let's first start, Meg, because I have so many things I want to say, and I have my notes on the side here just to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Can you let people watching know what is involved in an eclipse? So what do they usually trigger in our personal lives and in the collective? So what's an eclipse, basically?
Yeah, eclipses are really cool astronomical events involving the connection relationship between the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun, where they come into specific alignments. And in astrology, this is one of the, if not the biggest kind of event that we can have. It's kind of the energy of when we have a new moon eclipse. It's said to be like a new moon times 10, really accentuated energy. They're way stronger than a normal new moon or full moon. And eclipses are about really big life changes for us personally and on the collective level. And there's a lot of different elements to eclipses. It can be a little bit complex. So there's a lot we're going to talk about today. There's also, the places where eclipses are in 100% visibility path. So there's certain locations on the planet that will be a lot more greatly affected than other locations. So it affects us collectively. It's like major doors closing and new chapters opening collectively, also in our personal lives as well. And I'd love to hear what you think, Julie, but I really believe that knowing where the eclipses are highlighting in our charts is one of the most important things to be aware of if we're into current astrology and transit astrology, to be in alignment with what we should be focusing on.
Yeah, definitely. Very much agree with you. Yeah, we're going to talk about both subjects today. So the, let's say, implication, influence of both eclipses on the world stage, but also what are they going to trigger in our personal lives? As you said, it's going to trigger most probably like major events in our lives. So usually if you really look at when eclipses happen, there's two season, let's say in average per year, two eclipses season. So we're in the second one for 2023. We're already in the orb of influence because it usually influences us about a month before. So we're already there because the first one is going to be on October 14th. And what did I want to say here? Well, we're going to go over both. So for sure, if we look at major things that happen in your life, major events, so weddings, let's say relationship starting, relationship ending, new jobs, change of houses, big purchases, big life events, let's say travels, most definitely you can look at some patterns that involve eclipse seasons there. So of course we cannot predict exactly what's going to happen in your personal life, but knowing where it falls in your birth chart can really help in deciphering what kind of event might show up for you. So we're going to go over both today. We're going to talk about what could happen on the world stage, but of course these are predictions only. We'll see what really happens in just about a month or so. And I just wanted to say, if you'd like to get more, let's say, one-on-one consultation time with Meg, you can do so, of course. And she has open spots for, I think, still the month of October. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. I've added a little bit extra availability in October because this is a very important eclipse season and very good to get an astrology reading at this time.
Yeah, indeed, because those eclipses are going to start a whole new axis of eclipses that is going to activate two or more, but usually it's two houses in your chart for the next year and a half. So, as you just said, preparing for that huge, let's say, changes that are going to transform two sectors in your whole life really depends what's your rising sign, what's your birth chart look like. So if you'd like to ask more specific question, you can do so with Meg, and that's available on maisonjupiter.com. And don't forget Beyond Mystic in one word to get 10% off your next reading with Meg. So that being said, here of course, we're going to talk about the general energies of those eclipses, right? And as you just said, I feel like knowing about it helps us channel the energy in the highest way possible to make sure we're on the highest timeline. And I feel like I need to make a disclaimer alert because I feel like some subjects might be triggering for some people here. So just know that they are possibilities of how the energies of the astrology could get channeled. Doesn't mean that this is what we're going to get, but also it's possible that some false flags might be out there. So when you, let's say, see the same subjects that we're about uh, to tell you about, maybe you're going to see them in mainstream media and you're going to be like, oh yeah, Meg and Julie talked about that. So doesn't mean that's going to happen, but it might be some of the, let's say, vocabulary that you're going to hear in the coming months. Would you agree with that? Did that make sense?
I very much agree with that. Very, very much agree with that. And we are creating our realities. And yes, there's love and light, but as Julie said, there's sometimes where there's possibilities for some things. And as astrologers, that's actually our duty to do that. I really feel that strongly, like as an astrologer, even a mystic of any modality, it's our duty to not just say, oh, this is going to be amazing for you. It's going to be so easy and awesome and abundance. But it's also our duty when there's times where it can be a little bit rocky terrain for us to share that to prepare for, potentialities. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Well said. I think those predictions help us in preparing psychologically in the best way possible and preparing ourselves for what's to come. So I think it has a plus value to sometimes tell it like it is and not try to be too nurturing with people and be like, yeah, everything's going to be rainbows and unicorns. So we'll try to get as real as we can with all of you, but of course we're gonna yeah, Jenny's saying trigger watch. Yeah, we're gonna get as realistic as possible with all of you, but always we'll have let's say a guide on how to use those energies in the highest way possible. So don't worry, we're gonna be there for you.
Yeah. And
Go
can
ahead.
I just say, Julie, which you already said this, but just to say it again, because it is really important. What we're going to talk about is for the eclipse season, but also for the whole next 6 months and year. So you may hear us talking about a lot of things, and it's like, that can't all happen in one eclipse season. It can happen the 6 months, year after the influence of an eclipse. So.
Yes,
Mhm.
totally. And usually I would say like the main events happen in, let's say, a window of 1 month before the actual date and 1 month after. But I feel like it unfolds with along the 6 months that come after. So, yes, so it's going to be like a big push from the universe to usher change. And what I found very interesting is that the nodes of the moon, which show where the eclipse are going to happen, moved in the relationship axis of Aries and Libra. So this first eclipse is going to be, well, this first eclipse of the fall season is going to be in the sign of Libra. So it would highlight a lot of relationship stuff for everybody. And in the world, it's going to be more like, let's say, deals within countries. It can be treaties, allies. So we're going to look at that more in details. But I think the fact that the nodes are in the relationship axis are going to color a lot those eclipses. This is going to feel different as the other eclipses we've had before in the financial axis for the last year and a half, I think. And the second one will be the last one in the financial axis. So I think we're going to talk about money a lot when we go there. Okay, so yes, we wrote here, very important. I'm looking at my notes to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. So look in your chart where those eclipses are hitting. So first one is going to be 21 degrees of Libra. This is going to be a new moon eclipse on October 14th. And the second one will be October 28th, so 2 weeks later. And it will be a full moon eclipse in the sign of Taurus at 5 degrees. So look up where 21-degree Libra and 5-degree Taurus fall in your chart. And if you got any personal planets or important points, such as, let's say, your ascendant, your descendant, your midheaven, or a planet, generally speaking, then you're going to be on the spotlight for this particular eclipse. So you're going to see more, like, say, personal changes in your life. Whereas if it's not falling on some important point for you, then it might be people around you, or it might be the world that's changing, and you have to adapt to whatever circumstance is happening in your life. So you wrote here, I'm reading your note, Meg. You wrote that is going to be the precursor to the Great North American Eclipse in the spring of 2024. Could you explain what you meant there?
Yeah, so we're going to have a very special event that is not going to happen for another 500 years, which is known as a Great North American Eclipse. So the eclipse of April 8th, 2024 is going to go from, I believe it's going to start down in Mexico and go all the way up through the United States, the path of visibility, 100% visibility of the eclipse, Mexico, United States, and then over Canada. So it's going over all three of the countries of North America, a great North American eclipse. And this is a really big deal for the interesting that we're talking about the relationship access and relationships with foreign countries. I think that's a really big theme with this eclipse season, as we'll talk about. It's going to change North America completely for the future, it feels like. So a lot of astrologers have been talking about that. That's going to be a really big eclipse that Julie and I will talk about in another Astro Decode, I'm sure, that one specifically. Yeah. But yeah, this eclipse season is the precursor. It's the one before we have that great North American eclipse. And we're having our first eclipse in Libra. We've had our first eclipse in 18 or 19 years in Aries over in the spring, I believe, of this year. So we're in that cycle now of these eclipses being in Libra and Aries. So there's things that can come up during this eclipse season that will be connected to what's going to be happening with the Great North American Eclipse, kind of like a foreshadow, if you will. But I was saying to Julie before we went live that I've been hearing some fellow astrologers that I love. Don't want to diss you guys, not doing that at all, but just I've been hearing a lot of people say, oh, that's going to be the big one. You know, that's going to be the biggest one coming up. But Julie and I, through our research, are seeing, okay, there's really powerful things going on with this eclipse season we've got going on right now as well. So we don't want to understate this. We want to acknowledge it for as powerful as it's going to be. So I hope we can do the best job possible in sharing that, because this is not just a little eclipse season and then we're going to have the big North American eclipse. It's very connected to what's going to be coming up next year with Pluto back in Aquarius. Lots of shifts.
And talking about Pluto, Pluto's going to square both eclipses in October. So whenever we got Pluto squaring both nodes, as we're having right now, and plus with the eclipses happening near those nodes, so it means that Pluto, the big bulldozer or game changer, is very emphasized at the moment of these eclipses. So it means big society changes. It means big events, big, usually it's like choosing your timeline, choosing your future. And big crises also. Let's not kid ourselves. Pluto is kind of a crises-prone planet. So big things, big events. Yeah, but I think also, of course, there's going to be things that need to die before we can open a whole new chapter. And even I know I've saw a couple of comments about people waiting for big changes in Canada, and I'm sure it's also the case for the people in the US. So yes, and I do believe that those eclipses might be important trigger points there.
Yeah.
And you just put a comment on the screen. A very happy birthday, early birthday to you, Mary. So yes, it's on my birthday. So I don't know which eclipse you're referring to, but that means you're gonna have an eclipse solar return. So that's a big year for you. So a very happy solar return and birthday to you, Mary.
Mary is going to I know Mary. Hi, Mary. She's having her birthday on the Great North American Eclipse.
Oh, so next year in 2024.
Really crazy.
Wow. Okay, so
sorry,
go ahead.
I just cut out.
We're having a big of a lot, so I'm talking at the same time. Sorry.
Yeah, we can't wait for this Mercury retrograde to be over. Don't know about you guys. 2 more days. But yeah, if you're having your birthday on an eclipse or 5 days before or after an eclipse, you're having an eclipse birthday year, or also we call eclipse solar return. So if it's on a new moon eclipse, this is new beginnings, fresh new energy, full steam ahead, really powerful change and transformation. And if it's a full moon eclipse, something major is coming to a close. Not necessarily a negative thing, but it's about completion, something coming to a close, and really big life changes as well.
Yeah, well said, well said. And right before we dive into the first one, which is going to be on October 14th, I wanted to remind everybody here that we're going to have a beautiful gift for one of you lucky supporters. And today it's going to be the fire candle from Elena on MaisonJupiter.com. So the fire candle is tobacco vanilla fragranced, and it is a tiger eye for protection and for courage. And I feel like it's very relevant for what we're about to embark on with those big changes. So I feel like this is very interesting with that, let's say, protection energy to surround yourself with for those big changes. So we're going to give away one fire candle. These are handmade candles and crystal infused by the beautiful Elena. So that will go to one of you lucky supporters. Okay, are you ready? Okay, Meg, first of all, I have a picture here and I hope it's the right one. Okay, so I Googled that. So this is the path of visibility, and I'm going to try to maybe zoom a little bit here. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's too much. Okay. Is it going to work? Okay. So this is the path of visibility for the October 14th eclipse. That's going to be in the sign of Libra. That's a new moon eclipse. So can you share with us, what do you think it means for the world?
Okay, so this is really, really powerful. And I know that I say that a lot. This is so powerful. This is so, such a big deal. This is a whole other level, you guys, of something really sacred actually going on, because the path of visibility of this eclipse is going over, that's the Western US, going down through the 4 corners. It is directly going to be over the 4 corners. And paths of visibility of eclipses are not very, very wide. They're not super wide. So it's literally going directly over the 4 corners, which is the meeting point of the states of Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado, where there's a ton of sacred sites and paranormal activity and indigenous people living there to this day, and the site of many prophecies and ancient wisdom that has not been revealed yet. And then the path of visibility goes down directly over the Yucatan Peninsula of the ancient Mayas. So the Mayan people, the Mayan prophecy, and then down through Central America and South America. So why it's important, you guys, to pay attention to the paths of visibility is because with this eclipse, these are the points on the earth that are actually getting the most activated and transformed from this particular eclipse. So it's affecting the whole world, but it's kind of like what Spirit wants me to say is it's kind of like if these places are having an eclipse solar return, you know, if your birthday is on
Mm.
an eclipse, that's kind of what's going on with these places. They're going to be activated from this eclipse for the whole next year. And the thing about all of these places along this line, like I said, there's still indigenous people living along these places to this day, practicing their ancient ways of living, living very connected to the land. And I was sharing with Julie before coming on here, I was doing some research and digging that this is really trippy, actually. The last time there was an eclipse that was visible in the path of 100% visibility over the four corners was May 20th, 2012. So May 20th, 2012 was just a few months before, well, like 7 months before December 21st, 2012.
Mm.
It would have been one of the last eclipses right before the Mayan prophecy of December 21st, 2012. So that was the last eclipse that was visible over the four corners. Now, 12 years later, we're having this total annular eclipse visible over the four corners, and everything in astrology and life is cycles. So we're at a completion point as to what was actually started May 20th, 2012, and with December 21st, 2012, having to do with these sacred sites and the Mayan prophecy, because that's where the Mayan prophecy comes from, the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. So I really feel like with this eclipse, it's at 21 degrees as well, which is a Sagittarius degree, which rules higher knowledge, foreign places, sacred sites, and ancient civilizations. I think what December 21st, 2012 was really all about. I know. Sorry, I don't know why I say it like that.
That's so funny.
2012. December
2012.
2012 was really all about is going to come out over the next year. Like what that actually was all about is going to come out. A
Yeah.
bunch of ancient knowledge is about to come out. Maybe a prophecy is going to be revealed that indigenous people know about that we're not aware of. Like something from these lands is coming to the surface to be revealed to the
Whoa.
collective. And it is time, it is sacred, and it's going to help us to move forward into this Aquarian age. So
This is huge, okay? Because like we've been talking right before recording, I think 2012 to use your your expression, or 2012, I think was probably the main year where most people woke up spiritually, had a spiritual awakening. So let us know in the chat if 2012 was a big year in regards to spiritually awakening for you, or was it before or after? But I feel like, and most people that are right now on the internet talking about spirituality, I feel that 2012 was a big portal of spiritual awakening for most. So let us know if 2012 makes sense, if something, let's say, important happened for you. For me, it started my spiritual awakening. So it might have been before that, but I feel like 2012 is an important year. Oh yeah, Mary's saying, I agree. 2012, 2015 was a big shift. So might have been not, let's say, on this particular eclipse, but I feel like 2012 was a big portal for a lot of mass spiritual awakening. So it's funny that 12 years later, we're having this annular solar eclipse right over the same four corner area, which is very sacred and has to do also with the Mayan prophecy. Do you have your cards nearby, Meg?
you have my cards. And I just want to say too, that was also the year, Julie, that I realized I was a starseed. Like, yeah,
Whoa.
a lot of people, when I talk to friends, clients, 2012 was a really big year. So for sure, for sure.
Wow.
What would you like me to ask the cards?
Okay, right before, I just want to put some comments on the screen. So Sunny's saying, yes, 2012, everything started to make sense. Jenny, I had a mini wake up in 2010, 2012, but 2020 now, I'm having a problem pronouncing those years. 2020 was the big one for me. Yes, yeah, for me too, on another level, more the red pilling stuff was big for 2020 for me too. And I know for Janine as well. Katie is saying 2012 was a rebirth for me. Great endings and new beginnings. Dark Night of the Soul. Yes, most definitely. Yeah. So, okay, let's ask the cards. What's the meaning of this eclipse 12 year after? So, what kind of new cycle are we opening up to in regards to the Mayan prophecy?
Okay. Sorry, can you say that again, Julie?
Okay. So, what's this new cycle about that we're about to open up with this eclipse in regards to the Mayan prophecy and in regards to spiritual awakening?
Okay, got it.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Interesting. Whoa. Okay, so when we did Divine Feminine Oracles, that was last night, right? That's weird
Yeah.
because it didn't feel like last night, but last night we did the Divine Feminine Oracle show, and we got this card last night, Saturn.
Right.
And we've got Capricorn, the sign ruled by Saturn. And we've got opposition, a type of aspect, and two cards with animals with horns. Isn't that interesting? So, what is this next cycle about? This next phase of the Mayan prophecy and the prophecies of those places along the path of visibility of that eclipse? I feel like we are actually going to see the system come down. So, ever since 2012, we've been in Pluto and Capricorn, but right now we're at the final degrees of Pluto and Capricorn. And over the course of the next year, by the end of next year, which will still have the influence a little bit of this eclipse season, we'll be fully in Pluto and Aquarius. Things are going to be things could be completely different a year from now, because that's a huge shift. So what I'm feeling from this is the opposition card, which means whenever we have an opposition or a square, it's a creative tension, as I like to call it. So there's a tension, there's an opposition, confrontation that, okay, this shit, sorry, is seriously going to fall. That's what I feel like energetically. It's actually going to fall, this next phase. And it's the challenge of people that are aware and people that are not aware having to deal with the fallout of that.
Whoa.
It's the continuation of the spiritual war, but this malefic side has already lost, but we have to go through the full death to then have the full rebirth, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, because I feel like for us to really be prepared for the collapsing of the old system, we had to go through this process of awakening, of red pilling, to be really fully prepared to adapt ourselves to what's going to come and also co-create the future we want. Because let's imagine that we're not awakened, we're not spiritually awakened, and we don't understand the forces that truly took over our system, and then the collapse happens. We're like totally lost, we don't know what to do anymore. So I feel like it has a lot of sense that it took 12 years into a full process of awakening to make us ready for what's to come.
Wow.
Whoa. Okay. Well, I love that, Kate. Oh, we are going to have to stay so grounded and centered to help others finally waking up. Yes, being lighthouses. Well said, Stephanie. Yeah, I very much resonate with that. That makes a lot of sense too. Woo. Okay. So let's look at this chart. First of all, this is the chart for October 14th, Libra new moon eclipse. that we're going to have at 21 degrees. So the sun and the moon are in conjunction because it's a new moon. And what makes it an eclipse is its proximity to one of the nodes. So in this case, this new moon eclipse will be conjunct the south node, which talks about the past. It talks about releasing, letting go. And also the south node is very spiritual in nature. So it takes away basically anything that is no longer aligned with our vibration in the material. Okay, so that's the nature of the south node. Doesn't mean that we're going to lose everything, not at all, but it's a spiritual force rather than a material force. So let's just remember that when we talk about this eclipse. So it's very spiritual in nature. So all spiritual actions, anything that we do in that's going to benefit humanity in general, is going to be rewarded because the energy of the south node is to deplete the material in favor of the spiritual if it's not aligned with where you're going. So I feel like it's interesting because a new moon is a new chapter that we're opening up. So we're creating something new, but we're also letting go with this south node. So I feel like it's going to be the end of chapters for a lot of us, but also in parallel, an opening of a new chapter. So both kind of happening at the same time. And it's going to conjunct here. You can see Mercury pretty close. So Mercury is going to be at 17 degree of Libra as well. So Mercury is a planet of communication, so we can have major announcements around this eclipse before or after or in the middle. Mercury's communication, it's deals, transactions, business, also kind of downloads we can have around that time, or communication with other people because Libra rules other people. And yeah, did you have something to say when you look at this chart, generally speaking, something you feel about this eclipse?
Well, first, I just realized right now, the south node is conjunct the sun, and we were just talking about if it is connected to that Mayan prophecy, we are, even though it's a new moon eclipse, we're completing there is some sort of completion going on. So that would make sense. And Aries and Libra is the world axis, right?
Yeah.
So having to do with the world, there's something involving the world, Libra south node, that's coming to a completion. And yeah, you're right. With Mercury conjunct the eclipse, the sun and the moon, Mercury is about information and truth, with the eclipse being at a Sagittarius degree, also information and truth. There's I think, a really big theme with this eclipse around downloads, wisdom coming through for the collective, ancient wisdom, but also personally, we can connect to probably divine guidance and our own wisdom very strongly with this eclipse and this eclipse season. Really big, I think, epiphanies and realizations, which is kind of interesting because Libra, the sign the eclipse is happening in, rules other people, more so other people and what do other people think and what are other people's needs. But there's this element of, yes, it's the relationship access and our relationships with other people and new beginnings with that, but also downloads that we're receiving personally, how to be our best selves, how to be in alignment, to be a part of the collective and the others outside of us. So did you want to say something, Julie?
Sorry, I was so inspired with what you just said, because previously we were talking about this big cycle of the Mayan prophecy that, let's say, we started in 2012, and now in 2023 with this eclipse, we're ending, but we're starting a whole new cycle with this eclipse that's close to the south node, which is very spiritual. So I'm thinking that, and with the cards that you just got previously, you got the Capricorn, the Saturn. So I was feeling like the past 12 years, we had to download a lot, get a lot of information, a lot of knowledge from the past. So we were getting activated to step on our mission. But I feel like this cycle is bringing the spiritual information down to earth which is Capricorn, which is Saturn, down to the practical stuff that we're about to do with our mission, which is also Saturn, Capricorn, with our day-to-day lives. And this spirituality, I feel, is going to be more rooted in reality, in, well, 3D, 5D reality, whatever you want to call it, but in material reality. So, well, very interesting. So what could be Libra theme related that you think could be, let's say, surfacing around this eclipse? So what's Libra? What does Libra rule in your opinion?
Yeah, so others and relationships, particularly our love relationships, committed love relationships, marriages, partners we live with, people that we're committed to in love, also business partnerships, and clients are more so Libra. Friends and siblings are more like Gemini or Aquarius, those signs. So definitely relationships, but also beauty and luxury, the beauty world, luxury fashion, clothing lines, music, art, those kind of areas of life of luxury and the nicer things in life. And I feel like elites as well. There's a theme with both of these eclipses, one being in the sign of Libra, and then the other being in Taurus at a Leo degree, that October 28th one. That's very much an energy of the elites, the elite circles, the people that have, the greatest luxuries. So they are all going to be very highlighted and I think exposed for even more, which we've been having a lot lately, a lot of exposing going on, but that's going to continue. And Libra is also the court system, anything having to do with legalities and justice. So there could be a really big, I think, justice being served over the period of the next 6 months, for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Looking forward to that. And Mary's saying bougie eclipse. Yes. And it's funny because I think it's kind of a paradox in itself because it's in the sign of Libra, which, as you said, rules beauty, luxury, even like the elites, the celebrities, the influencers, but it's conjuncting the South Node. So those kind of more superficial values could be depleted around this eclipse. So I feel like we're not going to get so much involved with superficial things because it's also at a Sagittarius degree, and Sagittarius need purpose, need meaning in their lives. So it's more, I think we're going to have to focus on stuff that really matters and make important choices also. And where do we give our attention? Where do we give our energy? If that makes sense. And also, let's mention, so both the Sun and Venus are not at really good positions, right? So what do you make of this? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's making me think about that opposition card that we got. Like which I can't find right now. It's now in the deck, but there's beautiful energy coming through. It feels like definitely with this next phase of these prophesized times, we've entered I kind of hear spirit saying like we've passed a test of even surviving the last 12 years. Going through the last 12 years is a huge test of faith on our souls, having self-awareness, knowing a lot of what's going on in the world and dealing with that and still going to work or still doing your things day to day. It is a completion point because 2024 with Pluto going into Aquarius fully is a whole other energy that we're stepping into, that really threshold of the age of Aquarius. And so, but with the sun in its fall sign of Libra, right? Which means, why is the sun at fall in Libra? Because the Libra season in the Northern Hemisphere is the start of the autumn, the fall. So the sun doesn't like to go into fall to go in the winter. The sun likes to go into spring, Aries season, where the sun is exalted, and then summer, Leo season, where the sun is at home. So the sun's kind of like, oh, I'm going at fall in Libra. And then the dispositor of Libra, which is the sign of this eclipse, is Venus. And Venus is in her fall position of Virgo. So there's a challenge of uncomfortableness, uncomforts, that we're going through, how I'm interpreting this with this process, but we are on the right page. There are new beginnings coming forward, but there can be some uncomforts going on, or maybe feeling like we're not in the luxury that we maybe want to have. It doesn't mean that we need material things, but luxuries to everyone is different, you know. Really good water for me is luxurious. I like to invest in really good water. That's like one of my personal luxuries. We all have different little luxuries. So we can feel unstable as we're going through this shift.
Yeah, totally agree with you. And just a technical glitch. I hear you like choppy, so I don't know if it's on my side or your side. Let us know in the chat if I'm choppy, if Meg is choppy, and I'll try to do my best to there's anything I can do about that. So I see a lot of people are coming in from Beyond Disclosure with Decode Geyer. So hello everybody just joining us. And hi Sophie, it's nice to see you. Happy that you're here with us as well. Okay, so yeah, definitely you were talking about Venus being in a weak position, and that's the ruler of the eclipse. So very important to look at. And Venus in Virgo, Venus doesn't really like to be in Virgo. No. And plus, so let's say one of the tools we can use to see if an eclipse is going to be an easy one or has harder energy attached to it is to look at the ruler of the eclipse, in this case, Venus. So Venus is exalted in the opposing sign of Pisces. So when it's in Virgo, it's not comfortable. So it's at a weak position, at fall position, and plus it's opposing Saturn, which is kind of harsh. So Saturn is rules, Saturn is constraints, challenges. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of those. Let's hope for from really far, but I think that could be the case for this eclipse. Don't be surprised if you're facing a lot of challenges or opposition, because it's kind of the main aspect of this eclipse. And plus, we got a super powerful Mars in its own sign of Scorpio. So Mars is super powerful. Pluto is super powerful. Squaring this eclipse. So I feel we can also maybe see a lot of rebellion or a lot of people unhappy with, let's say, the rules, because Saturn can also rule government rules. And Venus is a social planet, so social rules, if you know what I mean. So, and also Venus in Virgo is the sign of health. So I think we can expect a lot of those rules again, sadly, because of this Saturn opposition. Let's just hope it's not going to stay for too long. But I have a good feeling that this Mars in Scorpio plus Pluto is going to feel very rebellious against those rules. So it's not going to be an easy thing, I think, to put us in the same position as 2020, in my opinion, at least. Okay, let's look at what I wrote here for this eclipse. And Meg, of course, let me know if you have anything to add. Okay, so first part, for the world, influence for the world. So I wrote some stuff that could be happening, but just to give you a general idea of possibilities that could happen around this eclipse. So first of all, end of some organizations, because Libra rules deals between, let's say, organizations, countries. So it could be the end of some organizations, treaties, deals, agreements, unions, and allies, to make space for new ones, because it's a new moon, but it's also conjunct the South Node. So the end of some old treaties or unions or allies. At a Sagittarius degree, which rules the world. And also don't forget, we're on the world axis with this eclipse, as you said before, Meg. So a lot of stuff can happen on the world stage around this eclipse. Also, I'm kind of thinking about, we can have a big announcement that could come from the BRICS. Mercury's conjunct this new moon eclipse. And this is a organization, or I don't know what's the word that they consider themselves to be, but it's definitely some kind of what would be the word? Not an organization, but let's say, wow, my words.
Yes,
Ah,
I'm
I'm
trying to
sorry.
think. Alliance?
Alliance. Yes, thank you. That's the perfect word. An alliance of countries. So this is the definition of Libra. So I think we could hear something important coming from the BRICS. Also, I feel like US could be announcing a new currency because at the same time, we're going to have the last exact by degree, but not exact by minute, Pluto return. And this Pluto return for the US is squaring this eclipse. So very, very emphasized. So I think the US have a good chance to announce a new currency around that time or announce new allies, which is also Libra ruled. Some countries could announce some drastic measures to face the national debt because, well, Venus, money, is the ruler of this eclipse in the sign of Virgo, which rules debt. And then central bank's debt, which is a Scorpio Pluto team. Also, countries could announce some restrictions against Chinese products. So this one I'm feeling very much. So it could be China products, investment is investment. Whoa, this Mercury retrograde is getting to my throat chakra. Investment funds. Okay, stocks, businesses, real estate, because China is a Libra ruled country and the South Node depletes the energy there. So, and I already read an article in Zero Hedge talking about some of US organizations trying to take their stocks away from Chinese investment funds. So I think this tendency could get even more, could go even further. Also, Venus in Virgo is very much health related. So health related restrictions from World Organization is a possibility here. The other thing I wrote down, Mercury rules announcement, trade, business deals, communication, media, and 21 degree is the degree of this eclipse. And it's also the degree when Mercury was at when it's starting its retrograde that we're still in while we're doing this at the end of August. So I'm thinking that themes from the end of August could be coming back with a lot more strength around this eclipse. And isn't it when COVID propaganda started again? Is it around the end of August when Mercury starting to go retrograde? So themes from the past. So I think this might be one of the big themes here. Because of this degree of Mercury, and Mercury is very much emphasized there too. So a lot of communication done by the media, I think, will be an important theme. And we could see also some new media company or platform, or even a new media deal is announced. Maybe new investors on an existing media platform. This is a possibility as well. And lastly, for the world, I wrote a little paragraph here on Venus and Virgo, which we already told is at a weak position. Plus is even more weakened by Saturn retrograde at 0 degree Pisces opposing it. So it's a very much of a sober kind of energy. So both for the world and the collective energy and personal energy, I feel like most people are going to feel this sober energy. So whenever Venus is at places where she likes to be, then we're like spending or like, woo, like a bit like not really caring about stuff. But whenever Venus is at, let's say, a weaker place, Venus is not really happy, cannot really enjoy life's pleasures. So I think we're going to be feeling this sober type of energy, trying to save money, energy. Maybe some criticism is going to be emphasized. It's a heavier mood for sure. And it kind of forces us to face reality and face the problems. And what is Virgo? Well, it's health, it's finances, debt, and well, Venus rules relationships. So we can be forced in our personal lives and in, let's say, in the collective consciousness to force to face the issues that were created in the past months, years. So we all know that the government's printed a lot of money to allegedly deal with this health situation. So now we could be facing the true reality of those decisions, and also the health consequences of what has been done to us in the past. Also, social restrictions, frugal behavior, health issues, mental health issues. So you were telling me before that you feel like this one specifically is going to be a big one, right?
Yeah, for sure, because Saturn is going to be in Pisces. Pisces is one of the signs that rules mental health. Saturn can bring challenge to whatever sign he is in. And Saturn's going to be at 0 degrees Pisces. So the strongest influence, when you got something at 0 degrees, it's the strongest possible influence of the expression of that sign. So this could be, I think, not that I want this to happen, but the start of a really big mental health crisis of people that don't want to face the reality of
Mm.
what's going on. We're shifting ages, things are changing. What's been working before and the old power structures are not going to survive the next 2 years. So even it doesn't matter whether you're awake or not awake, we all need to watch out for our mental health. And if you're someone that has issues already with mental health, make sure that you're doing your, protocols, whatever works for you, because we need to stay grounded and supporting each other during these times for sure. It's going to be hardest for the people that still don't want to open up to the higher aspects of what's going on. But even for some of us that are sensitive empaths, we need to be mindful as well.
Totally, yeah. And with just the looks of the two eclipses, and we'll get to the second one in just a bit, but I'm having this feeling where it's not all people that will wake up. I have a feeling that a lot of people are still not going to be ready to face reality.
Mhm.
First of all, with this opposition to Saturn, which represents the hard hitting reality that's in your face, to help you understand that there's consequences to every decision that was made in the past, whether it's yours, whether it's your government's, but we're all facing consequences at the moment. And the other eclipse is conjunct Jupiter, which also is opposing Neptune, which is a planet of illusions. So I'm feeling like a lot of people will want to stay in denial and not wanting and ready to look at the reality. So this is my astrological opinion. So let's hope I'm not right. But this, looking at those eclipses, this is kind of what I'm feeling at the moment,
Mhm.
sadly. Okay, so also, well, Venus in a weak spot opposing Saturn, relationship alert. It is not really good for relationships in general. So it's Venus and Virgo opposing Saturn. Your focus is simply not on harmony and enjoyment, which is usually what Venus is all about. So we'll have probably bigger fish to fry or things to deal with.
Mhm.
There could also be public personalities announcing divorces, because Libra is all about weddings, marriages, couples, and South Node depletes. So we're going to see, I think, a lot of those ending. Like we just saw an important one in Canada ending with our Trudeau Mr.
Mhm.
And then important diplomatic actions and negotiations could be surrounding this eclipse. Okay, do you want to do the personal influence part
Yeah,
of the
for
chart?
sure. So more of the personal influence for this Libra new moon eclipse is relationships phasing out. It is the relationship axis after all. Separations, new relationships starting that are aligned with your path, right? So the should that say North Node or did you mean to put South Node there? Oh, the South
No.
Node is Libra. Yeah. So what
Yeah.
is aligned with your path? Sorry. Uh, International deals, new agreements, changes in business relationships, right? So it is that world axis. So there's going to be really big, like Julie was talking about, ally changes in the collective, but that can also happen in our personal lives as well. We could have
Mhm.
complete ally changes. Having to make tough decisions to adapt to new financial landscape, paying debts, reevaluating the financial situation, adopting new strategies and partnerships. So partnerships are very, very going to be important during this time and in the months and year to head ahead. We're going to need to be supporting others, as I see a lot of you are seeing in the comments, definitely as light workers and star seeds, supporting others. Libra rules others. And if we ever need support, not being afraid to ask for that support, whether it's because of our mental health or we're just struggling in some sort of way. Libra is about balance and harmony. And being in a balanced state is having healthy relationships, right? The opposite sign of Libra is Aries. And what happens to Aries when they're too much alone and it's just focused about them? It can get into, a war kind of space or an unhealthy kind of space. So Libra is that nice opposite to Aries, showing us how to be in harmony. Trying to find a better balance in life in general and welcoming change and things leaving your life, entering your life. So eclipses are the biggest changes that can happen in life. There could, and also can be really unexpected at times, right, Julie? Like some people can be listening and going, okay, I don't really have anything going on. But then we get into the eclipse season and bam, you have to move houses for some reason, or there's a relationship ending, or you've just met your soulmate. There could be really big changes. It can be really unexpected and unpredictable at times.
Well said. Well said. Did you have anything else to add to this eclipse before we move on to the second one?
Just that two countries that are Libra suns would
Right.
be China and Belgium, two of some of the most notable ones. So China and Belgium, the seat of the European Union, which I think is going to be very highlighted with this eclipse
Ah,
season for sure. For sure. I think with the new moon eclipse, because of some aspects that are going on, there could be very shocking news having to do with the financial system of Europe or the euro. So in the transit chart for the European Union, based on its birth chart with the current astrology, there's a lot of aspects with Uranus, natal Uranus, and transit Uranus. So there's going to be something really unexpected coming up having to do with Europe for sure. And, there's a lot pointing to the financial side of things. So that's going to be interesting to see what comes up with that. Could have to do with the elites, Libra, the relationships with people, Libra.
yeah. I didn't make the link between Belgium being Libra ruled and the European Union having their seat there. So
Right. Yeah.
makes total sense. Wow. So it's like a double whammy. But I feel like also the second one kind of impacts the European Union as well. Is that right?
I think, yeah, that one will, yeah, you're totally right about that. That one will probably be the big spotlight on Europe because the eclipse on October 28th will be fully visible in all of Europe.
Yeah.
So the whole European Union as a whole.
Yeah, so I have this chart which shows the path of visibility for the full moon eclipse on October 28th. So that's the second one. It is in the sign of Taurus. So very important because Taurus is in the financial axis. So this is going to be the very last eclipse of the financial axis for the next 8 years. So the next one in the financial axis will be in 8 years in 2030. So, meaning that with this eclipse on October 28th, we are completing a 1 year and a half big transformation of our financial systems.
Mhm.
And plus, it's focused on Europe and well, I think it's bigger than Europe, as you can see here on the chart. I don't know how accurate this is, but it seems like it's going to impact a lot of. It seems like it also encompasses China, which is
Yeah,
interesting.
it does encompass China. I personally feel like Europe could be the big hotspot for this eclipse because the European Union's birthday is November 1st, 1994. And the eclipse, October 28th, is 3 days before the birthday. So they're going to have an eclipse solar return birthday year. On,
Whoa.
on top of that eclipse being fully visible in all of Europe and Europe has their Saturn at, I think, 23 degrees of Aquarius, and Saturn will be at 0 degrees Pisces this eclipse season. So it's going to come back, lightly start to conjunct that Saturn again. So
Oh.
they're not out of the water if their Saturn returns. So it's something really big with the institutions of Europe. The EU could fall, something could majorly shift and be exposed and create a big event.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So let's look at this October 20th eclipse in the sign of Taurus. So it is at 5 degree of Taurus. Like we said, it's the last one of the financial axis until for the next 8 years. So you see there's a conjunction with Jupiter, which is at 11 degrees. So not so close, but still a conjunction. And this one is loosely conjuncting the North Node, which means that the events that will unfold around this eclipse will support where we're going for the future, because the North Node deals with new technologies, with the future in general, with where we're going, and creating newness in our lives. So moving away from the past and the old system. So that's kind of the gist right here. And the other thing I feel that's kind of interesting is that the sun, because it's a full moon eclipse, so the sun and the moon are opposing each other. The sun, as you can see, is in Scorpio. So, a lot of Scorpio energy in conjuncting Mercury here at 10 degrees Scorpio, and Mars, which is in its home sign of Scorpio at 11 degree. So the sun is conjuncting Mercury and Mars, and the moon, which is the full moon eclipse, is opposing all of that here. So sun, Mercury, and Mars. So yes, so a lot of astrologers are like, oh, it's conjunct Jupiter, so everything's going to be all right. Yeah. But let's not forget that Jupiter is opposing directly at 11 degree Mars in Scorpio. And when we have an opposition, it's like everybody's pulling on their side. There's like a tug of war going on. But some planet is going to be stronger than the other one. And Mars here is a lot stronger because it's in home sign of Scorpio. So a lot of, let's say, opposition, intensity, even we can see revolts, people rebelling. And also, let's not forget that Jupiter is a financial planet. Taurus is a financial sign. And the ruler of that is Venus, which is also, again, at a fall position in the sign of Virgo, opposing Neptune. So Venus is at a weak spot, so it's not like, let's say, all rainbows and unicorns. Let's just say that. What do you think, in your opinion, could be coming up as of Taurus themes this time around, Meg?
Well, it is money, like you said, and the financial system. So there are going to be some really big changes with this being the last eclipse in Taurus for another, I forget if it's 18, 19 years, with Pluto in Capricorn in the last degrees. The financial system of the structures that have been are changing in a huge way. And we may see certain countries go through that first. I feel like the astrology is showing Europe may have that happen first, where there's a really big change all of a sudden. Maybe it will be Europe and the US together, because it is that exact Pluto return point. So we're going to see how it plays out. But definitely finances are super highlighted, big world changes happening with that, alliances in the financial markets shifting as well. And I think our leaders in particular, more so than the new moon October 14th eclipse, are highlighted because this is happening at a Leo degree, October 28th eclipse. So leaders, royalty, rock stars, really famous people, really the biggest influencers of the influencers are highlighted, and it's full moon. So cleansing, purging, revealing of these characters. What lies have been told to us about our financial system? What's been hidden? Full moons are things being revealed, not just being cleansed. And full moon eclipses are like way bigger energy than a normal full moon. So things are going to be revealed about the financial system that, yeah, there could be protests about that, people upset about what they find out, right? It's interesting though, because the moon is exalted in Taurus.
True.
So, but at the same time, there's a lot of, I feel like, funky things with that eclipse. So, it's also, I don't know if we mentioned this yet, but Uranus is conjunct Algol now
Right.
within 5 degrees, 4 or 5 degrees. So this is our first eclipse season with Uranus within a 5 degree orb. I believe it's a 4 degree orb to Algol, the fixed star known as the demon star.
So the big question, Meg, is do you think it's going to be, let's say, false flag using this climate change propaganda stuff, or is it going to be real events, cataclysm, Earth stuff, because it's in the sign of Taurus, which rules Earth? Which
Yeah,
one do you think it's going to be?
that is a really good question. And intuitively, I'm feeling the same thing that I was picking up on, I think, last week on one of the shows. I don't think anything is set in stone with what the powers that be are planning, because they have to tread very, very carefully what they do next. Because if they pull a card, like everything they do backfires, if they pull a card that ends up being extremely super obvious and everyone wakes up, or 80% of the people wake up, then they're totally screwed. So I feel like they do astrology. They have astrologers looking at these eclipses like how we're looking at these eclipses. So I feel like it could be Earth events, it could be weather manipulation, but for some reason, I feel like probably more to do with the money. What's a greater way to generate fear, which these people feed off of our fear, than to get to our money and our resources and our stability? And how to put food on the table as well. Taurus is food, right? Being
Right.
able to pay for food, the food industry. So our basic kind of comfort needs maybe being threatened, I guess is the right word, in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Maybe some news will come out like there's going to be a food shortage or there's going to be bank runs, just to see how they test the waters. And if it's too crazy, maybe they'll roll it back, or maybe they'll want that to feed off the fear.
That makes sense. And like Laura saying, RV, so remote viewers are predicting a phony cataclysmic event, if I understood right. Yes, I watched a part of the Beyond Disclosure episode that just aired before us. And Dick Algier was kind of saying that he thinks that it could be like it was a man-made Earth cataclysm event, in his opinion, that was going to, let's say, start the whole financial shift, financial catastrophe. So that would make sense, because if I'm looking at the chart here, oh, it's Venus. Okay, I said Jupiter opposing Neptune earlier, but scratch that. It's Venus opposing Neptune. So Venus, which is the ruler of this eclipse, so very important to look at, is opposing kind of pretty closely Neptune. So Neptune in Pisces is known for propaganda, mainstream media, sort of false flags, and especially with a hard alignment like this one, we're having an opposition. So, and this is the health axis as well. And also, Virgo rules crises, health, death in general, and also health in general. So we can have some form of, I think we will have a lot of propaganda and false flags, let's say, trying to pump up that fear in the collective to precede this big financial transformation, because it's the last one of the financial axis. It's conjuncting Jupiter. So something big will happen, and Jupiter expands the energy, so it will expand this full moon eclipse. And what I wrote in my notes, and I kind of think that it will be a good strategy for them to use that. I'm thinking that Jupiter is at 11 degree, which is an Aquarius degree, so it deals with new technology. And remember, in the beginning, I said that it's conjuncting the North Node, which rules also new technology and going to the future and stepping away from the old technologies, which can be like physical money. So I'm thinking Jupiter also rules inflation or hyperinflation in astrology, in world astrology. So we could definitely see like hyperinflation or more inflation, and that catalyst of the CBDCs being introduced worldwide, because Jupiter is an international planet at an Aquarius degree, which is again technology, new technologies being used for money. Jupiter, Taurus. So new avenues, looking to the future, innovation, leaving behind the old. So I think this will be used probably to see, oh, see, there's too much inflation that's linked with our current currency, so let's use this one instead. So that might be some of the strategies here, because again, it's also parallel with this Pluto, the US Pluto return that will be at 27 degree of Capricorn, and plus squaring the nodes. So yes. And again, it's the last eclipse of the financial axis. So I'm pretty sure something big will happen, and they're going to use this energy to probably shift us into their next event, so which could be the CBDCs. And then full moon is a completion. So full moon eclipses are usually more intense, in my opinion, than new moon eclipses. And 5 degree of Leo, which is a Leo degree, well, not of Leo, but is a Leo degree, is rules the stock market in mundane astrology. So we could definitely see something with that looks like a stock market crash around this eclipse. And Sun is in Scorpio conjuncting Mars and Mercury, so revealing the shadow side of the world and corruption. And Mars will be very strong and very, very much rebellious. So we could see, as you were saying earlier, that we could see how we've been fooled all along for thinking that we had a fair financial system, a fair exchange of our time and energy in the world. So that might be also one of, let's say, the themes that is coming up here. And again, Venus, the ruler, is again in a fall position in Virgo, like the previous eclipse, and opposes Neptune in Pisces this time. So a lot of things could be happening there. So smoke and mirrors regarding money, debt, health, crises. Mainstream media is in full propaganda mode. Oh, I made a mistake here. Money, I wrote money could disappear. Okay, that looks weird, but it might be physical money that disappears, because Neptune in Pisces, it's like the material is disappearing, and Venus represents money. So it could be like there's no more physical money. That's one of the possibilities here. But for sure, I think they're going to crank up the health stuff around this time. And this is why previously I've been saying that I think that a lot of people will still be sleeping around those eclipses, and they're going to use that as much as possible. So don't be surprised if you see a lot of false flag, a lot of false information coming from the media. They're going to use this opposition to Neptune as much as they can to make us believe anything surrounding health, money, and the debt deficit that we're into. So there's going to be a lot of false information. Just be wary of that. And of course, Neptune rules this V word right here. So we could have this big medical worldwide operation going really strong at that time. And again, using the fact that people are not faced with true information and true choices regarding that if they're being lied to, which is also the lower side of Neptune in Pisces. And lastly, I wrote skilled workers shortage, because Venus in Virgo could also speak about that due to health issues, or we could have a shortage of health practitioners and health workers. That could also be another thing here. Oh, Orion 555 is saying, sounds like J Snips for a dream about money disappearing. Wow, I haven't heard about that, but it seems very synchronistic. Meg, what do you think about all that? And did you have something to add to what I just said?
It sounds so intense what we're talking about, but yeah, it's a lot of intense things happening. And like what happened when we had the Saturn-Pluto conjunction at the beginning of 2020, as intense and even scary as that kind of was in some ways, it backfired. What Capricorn, that conjunction was in the sign of Capricorn, what the elite's power structure tried to do actually ended up waking so many people up.
True.
Right. So I think it's very important to keep saying we're headed in the right direction. We're not going into a dystopian world. That's not even possible because we're entering a light age energetically. We're in that phase where it seems like it's going in a really bad place and there's all these potentialities of what could happen, but it's part of that initiation, I think, in my opinion. So yeah, I hope there isn't a huge cataclysm, but if it happens, then it happens. And I really believe that under whatever galactic laws are supposed to happen, if something was really not meant to happen for all of our highest good, it wouldn't be able to. So
Yeah.
even if there's things that happen that seem really challenging or even kind of scary at times, there's some kind of positivity to it, as weird as that may sound. There's some kind of learning from it, strength that we get that we didn't have before. So yeah, it's intense.
Yeah. And what about, I see in your notes you wrote for this eclipse, the second one on October 28th, Scorpio stellium and Venus conjunct Black Moon Lilith.
Oh yeah.
So that's a lot of intensity right here.
That's if it's not already intense enough, let's just add that. Spirit's like, let's just add that to that time.
Well, I have my ears buzzing at the same time. That must be an important information.
Okay, interesting. Well, Scorpio is the sign that, it's funny because Leo rules, being dramatic and being expressive, but I feel like Scorpio is really dramatic as well in its own way. So, with us having a Scorpio stellium with this eclipse, and what was it conjunct Venus? Venus is conjunct the,
You said Venus conjunct Black Moon Lilith.
oh, right. Venus is conjunct Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith is an asteroid that is very much about kind of trickster energy, drama, our wild side, things getting wild, right? So I think it's going to be dramatic. I think there's going to be a lot of layers of things going on at the same time. Events trying to be put onto the public to promote fear, while at the same time there can be very dramatic stories coming out about leaders or people that are in the public eye. There could be sex scandals. Scorpio
Yeah.
rules sex and scandals, dramatic sex scandals or love affairs being put out there. So, yeah, I think I think the full moon one is definitely going to be more intense for sure. There
Definitely.
may be points where we're like, okay, the days around the full moon and the day of, we may need to put the phones down and just get out and just take a while not looking at anything because, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And yes, thank you, Trigal Rise. Don't forget to hit the like. Yes, if you do enjoy this content, please help us in helping the algorithm for Maison Jupiter on YouTube. And yes, okay, I wanted to also talk about, before we end this live, about the personal influence of this eclipse, because I think this is going to be probably the most positive influence of this eclipse. I think on the world stage, it will be a big one.
Yeah.
Oh, you're having a call. I think it will be a big one on the world stage, but I think if we use this energy in the highest way possible, it could be very positive on an individual level. Because mostly I think of the Jupiter conjunction to it. So really try to use this Jupiterian energy. And I will, and yes, Stephanie is saying hug a tree. Yes, that's a good one because it's an earth sign. So Taurus is an earth sign and the ruler is Venus on nature. That's a good one. Hug a tree. So I wrote there, good eclipse on the personal side of things, completion of projects and endeavors. So if you've been working hard at some kind of project, that could be relating to any kind of Taurus theme or just something very much in the physical, in the material world, you could be seeing the completion and the rewards, the material rewards of this project around this eclipse. And then, okay, so let's not skip what's really important. And I know we've been talking about that during the Divine Feminine Oracle show last night, taking care of your health in the most natural way, because Taurus and Virgo in their highest expression talk about healthy and natural ways to take care of your health. So not talking here about any chemical products or pharmaceutical drugs. We're talking about the highest expression of what Earth has to offer. And most importantly, because we're talking about Taurus here, your diet. Yes. So, and another thing that I think is going to be super positive about this eclipse is Venus in Virgo sextiles Mars in Scorpio. So I think you touched on that at the beginning of the show, but both has to do with digestion. Okay. So Virgo is the gut. So cleanse your gut. And that would be a good way to do also a liquid diet, because Neptune is involved in this opposition, and Neptune is liquids, water. So make sure you're well hydrated. And doing a juice cleanse or a smoothie cleanse can be super positive around this time. And we know too that in the fall season, if we look at our natural health cycles, it's a cycle of detox, of natural body detox. So the first one is the spring. If I'm not mistaken, spring is the lungs, but also I think that it's also the lungs that are being detoxing at fall, but there's also another organ. So let me know in the chat which one is. I know one season is also the liver. I can't remember which one it is, but I think the lungs are very much involved in the detox surrounding fall also. And we know that a lot of those pharmaceuticals were also let's say, targeting your lungs. So making sure that your digestion is ready to go, and doing a little detox there could be very beneficial for all of us. Yes, okay. So let me know in the chat if oh, Stephanie's saying I'm doing a liquid fast now. Oh, so you're already ahead of time. I love that. Also, it could be for some people that are completing an investment or an important purchase around this time. Let's hope you did it after Venus went direct and Mercury direct. So still 2 days before Mercury goes direct. Yay. Also, any kind of, let's say, abundance ritual, abundance meditation will be super powerful around this eclipse, because it's in the sign of Taurus, which rules any kind of abundance. So feeling abundant and doing abundance related meditation or activation. So we have some in the academy, if that's something of interest to you, but any kind of things that you're grateful for what you have, and you, let's say, heal your relationship to abundance, will be super powerful around this time. Also, celebrating the earth with a sacred ritual for abundance and prosperity. And hug a tree, yes, is very good also. Remembering that happiness can lie in small things, because we're talking about Taurus here. Generosity will be rewarded, because we're in Taurus, and Jupiter is being aspecting this eclipse. And okay, so let's say the more negative stuff here. So there could be, yes, disagreements or fights around this time because of the strong opposition in Mars and Scorpio. So just be wary of that. Maybe don't engage when you're feeling triggered in a conversation, because it could very much escalate very quickly with this very intense energy. Okay, people are calling me too. So opposition of Mars and Scorpio, and yes, a lot of shadows I think will come out during this eclipse because of that Scorpio stellium that we just talked about. Another thing you could do to really push this energy in a more positive way would be to gather with people that inspire you, because Jupiter is the planet of guides, teacher, people that lift you up energetically speaking. So to make sure that you're keeping a high vibration and that you surround yourself with people that inspire you will be very, very, very positive. And also manifesting, but with a hint of reality because of that Saturn that's being expected. So I think the challenge of this eclipse, one of the challenges, will be to be more realistic in the way you think, because we're being forced to hit reality. So yes, Jupiter, the Jupiterian energy could be really great for this eclipse, but I feel like a lot of people will also be facing the true nature of reality, and it's not going to be pretty for everyone. So just make sure that you are grounded and surrounded with reality, if that makes any sense. Meg, what do you think about that, about this let's say, being faced with events from the past and being grounded in reality. What do you think about that?
I think that was all really good points and really good, almost like astrological remedies of how we can get through these eclipses the most smoothly is to embrace those qualities of Taurus and even Scorpio, because the eclipse has to do with the earth, the sun, and the moon. And the sun's going to be in the Scorpio, the moon's going to be in Taurus. So doing a food cleanse, like you said, it's the perfect time to do that, to be in that flow of going with that cleansing process that we are in, for sure. So I hope we're not freaking anybody out there with all this intense information, but I think you just shared a lot of really good remedies and ways that we can work with it and move through it as smoothly as possible.
Yeah, because I think I say that all the time, but I'm just gonna say it because I think it's important. But whenever we have a combination or an energy in astrology, it's going to manifest itself in some shape or form. So we are here and we can decide what option we'd like this energy to manifest into rather than another one. So let's say we're aware of all the possibilities of how this energy could be channeled. Let's choose the ones that we like the most. And of course, if we do it with our own free will, it's going to be a lot easier than if we're being forced to to face other ones that we like a little bit less. So like I want to say that unpredictable, I was going to say, oh, let's try to avoid unpredictable stuff, but I feel like the word unpredictable is usually linked with eclipses, right? Do you agree with that?
I totally agree.
So there's going to be some unpredictability for sure in our personal lives, but also in the collective. But I think if we are aware of the themes that can happen, then we can sort of navigate it in the best way possible. And yeah, Stephanie's saying eat lots of bitter greens and helps and herbs like dandelion. Is that how we pronounce that?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
burdock, yes, it was part of my herbal tea cleanse when I started my big detox in 2012. So yes, I totally agree with you, Stephanie. And someone else I put on the comment on the screen later. Oh, here. Earlier, lots of herbal teas. Yes, because of that Neptune opposition, I feel like liquids are also super important for that detox process.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I love reading your comments on the chat. Love that. Is there anything else that I'm missing, Meg, surrounding this? Oh, okay. I'm reading my notes at the same time, and I see ancient wisdom coming out.
Yeah.
So, did you want to share with us, because you have this feeling that we're gonna be maybe we're gonna have this activation of ancient knowledge maybe around this eclipse? Is that
I
right?
feel like both eclipses will activate that, particularly the
The
first
first
new
one.
moon solar eclipse, with it happening over the four corners and Yucatan Peninsula and Central America, that path of visibility. And it's at a Sagittarius degree and it's conjunct Mercury. So that's a lot of information coming forward in regards to where that eclipse is happening over. So that's really exciting. And with the October 28th eclipse being in Taurus, Taurus is the sign that rules Mother Earth.
Mm.
So definitely there's a big theme about ancient wisdom coming to the forefront during this eclipse and for the whole next 6 months and up to a year. And I'd love to ask everyone in the comments, like, what are your favorite websites to keep up to date with archaeological discoveries? Because I think that's going to be something very important to pay attention to right now. Archaeological discoveries, ancient civilization kind of news coming out, because I can't think of any at the top of my head. So I feel like that's going to be important to pay attention to for sure.
Yeah, maybe some old sacred sites or monuments are going to be found around this eclipse. And we've been talking about this Scorpio stellium opposing the Taurus full moon eclipse, and Scorpio rules underground. So I think we might discover some new undergrounds that are sacred, or underneath a sacred site, we might discover new underground. So just something along those lines that is still possible with the archetypes of this eclipse. And thank you so much, Grow. Appreciate your support. We love that. Wow. Okay. So let us know in the chat and down in the comments what you thought of this episode. If you have questions, if you have insights, because as we're talking, I'm having more and more downloads and insights. So you might have some too. And I always love to hear and read what you have to say there. Wow. Thank you so much, Meg. That was an information packed episode as usual. Thank you so much for your amazing wisdom. And of course, if you would like to book with Meg for a one-on-one personal consultation, because we are talking about those eclipses with the general energies for everybody, but of course, they're going to impact you in some more personalized way. So if you'd like to know what's coming for you regarding the eclipses, you can book one of the two appointments with Meg here on MaisonJupiter.com. And don't forget to enter Beyond Mystic in one word to get 10% off your next reading. And also, we have the personalized birth chart here. Also, you can enter Beyond Mystic in one word to get 10% off as well. So I'm just going to get back to the personalized birth chart right here. So this is a digital art print format of your own birth chart, which is super important and interesting to refer to anytime we're doing shows like that and we're mentioning degrees and signs, so you can look what house is getting activated for you. So that's going to be a digital product in the color of your choice, and it's accompanied by a 15 to 20 pages report explaining your most important alignments and aspect in your own personalized birth chart. Wow. So don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give us a like and comment in the chat or in the comments after the video is aired. We really love to read what you have to say. And sometimes we're getting ideas also for new shows. So let us know also what kind of subjects you would like us to touch on in the next Astro Decode. Thank you so much, Meg.
Thank you. That was really, I think, a lot of info we just shared there.
I think so too. So looking forward to read your comments, and thank you everybody for staying with us, and we will see you very soon. Au revoir.
Beautiful.